In part 1 of this series, we reviewed the possibility of a media conspiracy to cover up something about the Norway Spiral lights. In part 2, we're going to follow the research that will lead us towards a path of understanding what that conspiracy might really be, and in the process, find a smoking gun. The viewer should understand and appreciate the significance of independent study, scientific review, and resulting graphics contributed by Tony Spell of Spell Consulting. Because his effort was only to identify the location and nature of the phenomenon and not its cause, we can start with an unbiased, objective viewpoint in order to look for that cause. Another reminder, I will be speaking at ConspiracyCon on June 5, and I look forward to seeing you there. Now, please sit back and enjoy the presentation. I suppose the question arises, just how does In Mindless Times, the world's first ergonomic book, connect to the Norway Spiral lights? I assure you the answer is more than just a similarity in the cover artwork. In part 1, we reviewed the notion of conspiracy staging as part of a media cover-up of the truth behind the spiral lights. If you recall, conspiracy staging requires a long list of conspiracies being presented, among which you hide the real conspiracy, generally giving false information about it so that it can be defeated in strawman style, such that if anyone were to bring forth any real, valid evidence, it too can be shot down by simply associating it with that same old, disproven conspiracy theory. The first order of business is always to determine the facts of the matter, in this case the actual size and location of the phenomenon. Here we see one of several images created by Tony Spell, used to help triangulate the location, determine the size, the general progression of events of the phenomenon. The final calculations do suggest the object was indeed located where the missile test firing was supposed to take place. However, the calculations showing the size of the object and the speeds at which things had to be moving would disprove missile fire. Exhaust gases do not leave a missile and then continue to travel for hundreds of miles. In following up Tony's work, I decided to start with the city of Troms, central to the sightings. Just over the hill we find something called ISCAP, the European Institute for Scattered Radar Research. Media disinformation staging frequently implied that the U.S. military's HAARP facility in Alaska was involved, but failed to mention entirely that just over the hill we had ISCAP, which has many more radars, more locations, and much more power, though they claim contrary. We still have the problem of why it could only be seen from one direction and one part of the country, as represented by the orange line. We might find the answer in Patrick Ullman's picture, the only one not to agree with the others with respect to angle of view, the only one taken along the lower baseline, the only one taken very close to Karuna, and the only one to show the entire bright white tail. That implies that he was seeing something different than everyone else. That might just be the case. There is one other unique image, the only one with a crosshair effect. This could be a significant clue. It was taken at Troms, which means that just over the hill and underneath the image we would find the ISCAT ionospheric heater array. All such heaters, like the one at HAARP, are based on dipole antennas. Such a design could easily cast its own RF shadow in the shape of the antenna. Two unique images, both at ISCAT locations. Could it be that ISCAT is responsible? This HAARP document says that if you could see the radio waves, they would be spiraling. This scientific paper agrees, and a European Space Agency document says Troms actually did create visible spirals in a previous test. But this is the smoking gun. This official ISCAP document shows there was a test scheduled for that same time and date. Think about it. This wonderful scientific event was not revealed to the world even when the world was asking what it was. why the secrecy? Why would a student-run university project go black? Because it's very associated with HAARP and the U.S. military-industrial complex. But we also know it's more than that because of the disinformation staging. The trick is figuring out which conspiracy among the mishmash is the one. I think the clues are right in front of us. About 8 years ago, iSCAT Research spun off a company called 3D Radar, now a military contractor working under HAARP. That is interesting because iSCAT is getting a new 3D radar facility. But this is as far as we can go in this second part of the three-part series. In the final part, we're going to look at two possibilities: Project Bluebeam and time travel. But since there's a little music left from 12 Tomes in Time, the music written for the screenplay version of my sci-fi book, In Mindless Times, why don't we talk just a little bit about the book and why time travel could be of interest here in the first place. It is the world's first ergonomic book, based on patented scientific principles. You will read faster, you will not lose your place so often, you will have better retention and better comprehension, and more. But it is also unique because a lot of research went into time travel before writing the book. Many major universities have physicists hard at work in time travel research at this very moment. Research shows that you cannot actually travel back in time as such, but you can create a gateway, and thus the book is actually part one of a trilogy. And trust me, the Infinity Gate series will be all about conspiracies.